The energy shock shook the platform and the distorted sky of the Kingdom of Nothingness. Goku, with his body covered in wounds and shortness of breath, exchanged glances with Frieza, both already at the limit, while Jiren, still standing, remained firm, his gaze empty, concentrated on them. Needless to say, Goku, with a determined gesture, and Frieza, with a tense smile, launched into attack, fighting both with great power. Goku, in his state of Super Saiyan, give everything, while Frieza, although exhausted that he was, could no longer access his golden form. He attack, however, the warrior of the 11th universe was dragged to the edge, his feet slipping against the cracked ground, but just at the last moment, like a spectrum, he turned his body with millimetric precision and dodged the blow. Everyone's heart stopped for a second when Frieza, out of balance, failed to stabilize and was thrown into the void. A drowned scream escaped from Krillin, seeing how his golden silhouette disappeared. Goku, trying to regain control of the impulse, turned in the air, but Jiren, with a last blow enhanced by his contained fury, also pushed him off the platform. Gohan squeezed his teeth as his fists trembled. With a broken voice he said no, that it could not be, that it could not end like this. Piccolo, with his eyes wide open, barely reacted, motionless, unable to say a word. Krillin fell on his knees without understanding, while Master Roshi lowered his head in a solemn silence. Behemoth, with a shriek that resounded like thunder, raised his arms, while screaming that everything was finally over, that the justice of the 11th universe prevailed, that its champion had defeated the demon of Universe 7. But on the platform of the gods, the hardest reaction was given by Beerus. The god of destruction remained standing with his gaze down, his eyes hidden under the shadow of his forehead. "It cannot be. We have lost. I cannot let everything end like this," 17 murmured, yawning, while he loaded the last thing left in his core. "For the earth, for the animals, for all of them." With a drowned roar, the android launched a brutal discharge against Jiren, forcing him to retreat. The attacks intensified, one after another, like a desperate storm. 17 moved as if time were running out, as if he knew that every second one was a spark of hope ignited against the inevitable. Beerus, motionless, did not turn away the gaze of 17. His tail was shaking slowly as a reflection of a tension that he could not control, while his island was watching him closely, unable to do anything. Jiren, wounded but still with an advantage, resisted each clash of 17 until, with a last clash of forces, he managed to impact the android fully, throwing him against the rubble to finally send him out of the platform. In this way, Android 17 had also been eliminated. Daishinkan took a step forward. Participant number 17 has been eliminated. There are no more warriors left in Universe 7. The two Zeno in their floating thrones did not show the childish euphoria of before. They looked at each other for a moment, and one of them, with a low voice, said that it was funny, but that it was also sad. The other assumed, adding that Goku had been amazing, but that the rules were clear. A light began to cover the area where the members of Universe 7 were. Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Master Roshi, number 18, Ting, everyone looked around, slowly understanding what was going to happen. Beerus, without saying a word, closed his eyes. His expression was not angry, not even frustrated. It was something deeper, as if a part of him had gone out. Universe 7 eliminated, announced Daishinkan, while the Zeno slowly raised their hands. A sphere of light enveloped the entire universe, and in a flash, everything vanished. The sound of the wave gently hitting the shore was the first thing he heard. A warm breeze caressed his face, and the sun, shining calmly, seemed too peaceful, too familiar. Goku slowly opened his eyes. The wooden roof of the kami house received him as if he were an old friend, but something did not fit. "Goku, wake up," he heard at that moment. "Goku," it was Krillin's voice. Goku blinked several times, slowly incorporated, looking around as if he didn't fully recognize what he saw. The classic room of Master Roshi's house, there was no doubt, was in Kami House. "What happened?" I said with a drowned tone, the wandering, disoriented look, while he touched his own body as if making sure he was still there. "Where am I? Where is Jiren? And 17? Frieza at that moment approached Goku to tell him. "What the hell are you talking about, Goku? Your brother, or that guy who claims to be your brother, has taken your son. You have to go after him. You have to stop him as soon as possible." Krillin exchanged a look with her, then with Master Roshi, who crossed his arms in silence. He realized that something strange was in Goku, not only that he had woken up after a couple of unconscious minutes, but that he was talking incoherences. And not only this, but also something strange had changed in his power, in his ki. "Are you in Kami House?" Krillin answered with a nervous smile. "What kind of questions are those? Oh, it seems that he left you half crazy. Who is Jiren?" Goku looked at them with confusion painted on his face. He wanted to say something. He wanted to ask how it was possible that Krillin was there, that Bulma was young, that Roshi, that everyone seemed as if the years had never passed. Goku at that moment said, "It can't be. I saw how they erased us. I saw Gohan shout my name. The tournament, the universe." Bulma, at that moment, her patience was already starting to run out, so she told Goku, "Gohan? You mean your son? Of course you have to go look for him. Remember that your brother's psychopath just took him." "My brother's psychopath? You mean Raditz?" Goku said, without hiding his surprise, with his gaze somewhat lost, as if a veil had broken inside his memory. Inside, he felt that something did not fit. The pieces were there, like a badly armed puzzle. He clearly remembered having faced him, dying in the attempt, training in the other world, and then the whole long chain of events that led him to the Tournament of Power. And yet, now he was there, in the cameo, with Krillin, with Bulma, with Roshi, all live, healthy, as if nothing had happened, or as if everything was just beginning. At that moment, everyone felt that presence in the place. It was Piccolo, who would tell Goku that he was going with him. This surprised everyone present, but Piccolo would only tell him to do it, since he cannot allow that subject more powerful than he is out there, unless that he dominate the world. Goku, although he already knew that all this was going to happen, would equally accept his help. So, both, without wasting more time, would fly to where Raditz was with Gohan. However, Bulma noticed a small detail, being this that Goku leave the tracker on the ground, which make her believe that Goku already knew where he was going to the human. On the side of Raditz, he was in the place when he saw his brother arrive at that moment to ask him, "What are you doing here? Have you considered my proposal, or did you decide that you are going to die in this place?" At that moment, Piccolo looked at Goku, but what he looked at left him a little surprised, despite the fact that Goku had to feel worried. He was reflexive, as if something inside him was not right. What's wrong with this guy? Is he crazy, or what the hell? "Aren't you going to talk?" Raditz continued with a moan of contempt. "What's up, brother? Did you already realize that you are not at the level? This planet is crap, and you are just a waste of domesticated Saiyan." Piccolo took a step forward, ready for combat, but Goku raised a hand, stopping him. "What's up, Goku? Why don't you want me to fight? Are you crazy or what? Don't you see that this guy is a threat?" Raditz, at that moment, tell him, "What's up, Kakarot? You've been acting strange since the blow I gave you. Don't tell me it's because you know you have no choice but to join me, or tell me if something else is happening to you and you don't want to tell me." Goku, at that moment, tell Raditz, "If what you want is to take me with you or take you to my son, I will not allow you to do it if you are crazy." At that moment, Raditz tell him, "I'm tired of you." At that moment, his brother left with everything against him, and Goku, at that moment, tried to dodge the blow, but something strange happened. He received the full blow of his brother, which left him quite injured. He fell to the ground, not only injured, but he was a little stunned and confused. Piccolo tell him, "I told you, Goku, that you alone could not against him. You've been acting strange since we arrived. What's wrong with you?" Raditz, for his part, burst into laughter, telling his brother, "What was that, Kakarot? Did you really think you could stop me with that kind of attitude? You seem confused, as if you don't even know where you are standing." Goku, still on the ground, was breathing with difficulty. His body, although powerful, felt as if it were out of sync, as if something had held him back just at the crucial moment. He had all his strength inside, and yet he was not using it. Goku, still on the ground, breathing with difficulty, squeezed his teeth as his mind tried to focus everything that was happening. Piccolo's voice faded from the background, like a distant echo between his thoughts. While at that moment, Raditz was already preparing to launch himself again on him, but Goku, without losing a second more, quickly placed 2 fingers on his forehead, at the same moment in which Raditz rushed to finish him. His silhouette vanished. The Saiyan stood still with a disconcerted expression. Where did he go? He turned his head in several directions. Up, suspended in the sky, Goku appeared, with the wind lifting his hair and clothes. He was yawning, but his eyes had a different brightness. "If it worked," he murmured to himself with a hint of relief, "so at least I can do that." And without waiting any longer, he raised his energy. His aura turned reddish in an instant, burning around his body like an unleashed flame. "Kaioken!" he screamed with force, releasing the technique. On the ground, Raditz's tracker began to emit a series of intense beeps. The digital scream jumped from one number to another until it suddenly stopped at 832. Raditz frowned, unable to hide his surprise. What? That power? How did it increase so suddenly? But before he could react, Goku descended from the sky like a lightning bolt. His blow, straight to the face, exploded like a discharge, making Raditz drag him in a straight line against the ground, making him bounce and turn for several meters, leaving a trail of broken earth in his path. The impact was brutal, and for the first time, Raditz did not get up immediately. Piccolo looked at the scene from the edge of the clearing with his eyes wide open. What the hell? I didn't know Goku was so powerful. I don't understand. The red aura faded suddenly, and Goku fell on his knees in mid-air, landing with clumsiness. His muscles irked as if they had crumbled from the inside. His arms weighed, and his breathing became irregular. I see, so I can use my techniques, however, that does not mean that my body is fit to use them. Raditz began to incorporate in the distance, with his blood running down his mouth and a much more serious look. Piccolo, at that moment, tell him, "You have become powerful these 5 years. I did not think you have new techniques." Goku, at that moment, said, "Then there will be time to explain it. Now we have to defeat this subject." Raditz, with his face bloodied and his gaze lighted by anger, quickly reincorporated, cleaning his mouth with the back of his arm. His aura lit up violently, and without further warning, he threw himself like a bullet against Goku and Piccolo, determined to finish everything. Goku, although visibly exhausted, took a step back with effort, trying to read his brother's movements. Each attack was brutal, direct, precise, but just when it seemed that he could not dodge them, his body began to react by instinct. The legs moved alone, the torso rotated at the exact moment, and his face remained concentrated, as if he finally managed to touch a stream of calm between chaos. Piccolo, at that moment, looking at what was happening, said, "An aura begins to emit from Goku, and not only that, it seems that he moves on his own. But what the hell is going on? None of this makes sense." Raditz roared, frustrated to see how his blows only found air. "I have a power of 1200 right now," he shouted with his eyes wide open, "and you barely reach 500. How the hell are you dodging all this?" Goku did not respond. He barely breathed. His pupils seemed slightly silvered for instance, and his aura, although faint, began to distort the air around him. It was not the complete Ultra Instinct, but the reflection of his control over him began to manifest. Then a figure emerged from the side. "Don't forget me," Piccolo said with a serious voice, appearing behind him. Before Raditz could turn, he received a direct blow to the face by the Namekian, who threw him several meters in a straight line, making him turn in the air. Raditz, at that moment, more than annoyed, said, "With what do they want to play well?" I said, closing his fists. "Then we'll see if they can with this." At that moment, Piccolo said, "What does he want to do?" Goku said, "No, it cannot be. I know what he wants." At that moment, Raditz raised his hands to the sky, creating an artificial moon. At that moment, Raditz began to transform into a monkey, to which Goku shouted to Piccolo, "Do not look at Gohan." Piccolo at that moment felt, so he ran to the ship, causing it to throw dirt on the video, preventing Gohan's vision. Already turned into a monkey, Raditz began to face Piccolo and Goku. Ten, Yamcha, Chaos, and even Krillin and Rashi, feeling the monstrous ki of Raditz go to this place, while on the side of Goku he thought, "Damn, if there was a way to make me more powerful at this time to end this, I would do it. If I kill Piccolo, the spheres will cease to exist. Damn, there has to be only one way." At that moment, Goku channeled all his ki on his back, and then he released it suddenly. In an instant, that released energy expanded like an invisible thunder that shook the ground. The sky seemed to shudder, and a whirlwind of dust surrounded his figure, while the aura that enveloped him passed from the intense red to a vibrant golden. Piccolo, who was trying to dodge the blows of the giant beast, stopped in dry when he felt it. What is this? What happened? Between astonished and confused, when he turned his head towards the Saiyan, his ki, his power is growing unstoppably. From a distance, Krillin, Yamcha, Ten, and Chaos also stopped instantly. Their faces reflected something they had never felt before, a pressure as overwhelming as inexplicable. What the hell is that power? In the ship in which Bring, Krillin, Master Roshi, and Bulma travel, Krillin and Master Roshi, more than surprised, said, "It's Goku. His power has grown monstrously. It doesn't even make the slightest sense. How did this happen?" Goku at that moment have reached the power of the Super Saiyan. Raditz, still transformed into Oozaru, stepped back, as if his instinct had detected something that his mind still did not fully understand. His tracker began to emit erratic sounds, and suddenly it exploded into pieces. 20,800 units, he screamed in shock. That shine, that golden hair, cannot be that it's him. Raditz, with horror in his words, completed. The Super Saiyan. Before he could move, Goku was already in front of him, like a golden flash that pierced the air. Without pronouncing a word, without giving an explanation, only with a serious and firm look, he raised his fist, and in a single direct impact to the chest, he threw it back. The giant ape stumbled, and Goku, with a speed that defied all logic, appeared behind him, crossing his arms. "I'm sorry, I would have liked to save you, but I can't go crazy until I know what's going on," he said at that moment. Goku, who, with a final scream, Goku released a wave of energy so concentrated that it crossed the beast's chest. The body of the apes stopped in the air. Its transformation was completely broken, and between smoke and lightning, Raditz returned to its original form, falling to the ground, lifeless. At that very moment, Piccolo, without wasting time, raised both hands and fired a burst of energy into the sky, aiming directly at the artificial moon. The sphere exploded like a light bulb, causing the sky to return to its natural tone and extinguishing the threat of another transformation. The others, just arriving, could not believe what they saw. What was that? Tenshinhan would ask at that moment, while Krillin, who had got off the ship, said, That's Goku? He doesn't look like anything." Bulma at that moment said, "I don't understand why his hair is yellow, his eyes, it's clear that's Goku, but why does he look like that? I don't understand." The silence that reigned over the battlefield was finally broken by Piccolo's deep voice, who approached Goku with a serious gesture, even with traces of earth and slight burns from Raditz's attacks. "What was that? Are you Goku?" Ranka would ask with a hoarse voice. Goku, who was breathing with difficulty, would slowly incorporate, still carrying Gohan in his arms. He looked at the others, one by one. Krillin, Ten, Yamcha, Chaos, and even Krillin and Rashi, watching with attention and bewilderment. Everyone felt the same. There was something different about him, something they didn't know how to explain. "We have to talk, but not here," Goku said with a firm but exhausted voice. "Let's go back to Kame House. There I will tell you everything." Piccolo frowned, without saying anything else, "But so I understand." Everyone approached the capsule ship with which Bulma had traced the site, and little by little the group moved away from the battlefield, carrying Gohan's body, still asleep. Meanwhile, on another planet, "What did you say the Raditz tracker recorded before it exploded?" I said, Nappa. "What you heard, that's what he said. A power of 20,800 units. Kakaroto is a being full of surprises, but what I don't understand is why Raditz said, 'Those golden hair, those eyes.' Damn, Nappa, don't tell me Kakaroto is the legendary Super Saiyan. That doesn't make sense," Nappa said. "No, it had to have been a confusion." "How is it going to be a confusion, Mamage? Can't you hear that Raditz, not even in his Oozaru form, was unable to defeat him? Was he exterminated by a simple attack, as if it were a cockroach? But that doesn't make sense, does it? Raditz said he was a weakling. Even with the help of that Piccolo, they shouldn't have been able to beat him. And unless that low-class insect reaches that level..." Vegeta slowly turned his head, with an eyebrow raised. "Maybe Kakaroto is not as common as we thought. It doesn't matter. If it's as strong as it seems, then I'll go check it myself." At that moment, Nappa said, Well, I don't know what we're waiting for. Let's go to Earth. However, in another corner, even further away from the universe, in the depths of space, aboard an immense Imperial ship, Frieza rested placidly in a luxurious room illuminated by purple energy crystals. Next to him, standing in a vigilant position, were Saban and Dodoria, his two most reliable lieutenants. The Emperor turned slowly on his throne, entertained by looking at reports about conquered planets, with no apparent interest in anything. Suddenly, the automatic doors opened suddenly, causing both subordinates to tense. A low-class soldier broke into the room, breathing with difficulty, with his face decomposed by anxiety. "Mr. Frieza, I have intercepted a combat tracking transmission in Sector 87-G from planet Earth." Frieza closed his eyes, turning his head towards him with annoyance. "Earth? That third planet that may have passed there that justifies interrupting me?" The registered power exceeded 20,000, and something was mentioned about a golden-haired Saiyan and a different aura. Saban raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms. "Cha? Golden hair? What kind of nonsense is that?" Dodoria buzzed at that moment, saying, "It must be a malfunction of the tracker. No low-class Saiyan Monos can reach such power." Frieza, however, did not respond immediately. He remained silent with a frozen smile, but his eyes were barely shaking, an almost imperceptible reaction for anyone except those who knew him well. He lightly pressed the arm of his throne. A chill, as he had not felt for years, ran through his body. Saban noticed the prolonged silence and looked at him with concern. "My lord," Frieza said at that moment.
The legend is real. Meanwhile, in Kame House, Master Roshi was sitting in the chair in the Kame House room, still trying to process what he had just heard from his disciple. "So, you're telling me that those Saiyajins work for an even more dangerous subject, one called Frieza?" Goku nodded his head with a calm expression but full of concern. "That's right, Master. Frieza is much stronger than Raditz, Nappa, and even Vegeta. At the beginning there will be two, and we will not be able to cope with them if we do not train. But after that, things will happen that will change everything. Vegeta will change over time. I saw it with my own eyes." "I know because I already lived it," I said, lowering his gaze for a moment, aware that his words were just beginning to sow a seed of understanding. Piccolo, with arms crossed, with a hard look but the slightly frowning sign, kept his distance near the door. He had been silent, evaluating everything said, to say that. "And you expect us to believe that I, the great Piccolo, will end up merging with Kami for a greater threat, and that I will end up protecting that child?" He barely turned his gaze towards Gohan, who was sleeping exhausted in a futon near, still alien to everything. Goku, with a sincere tone, answered, "Yes, Piccolo, I saw it. I lived it. I know it sounds impossible now, but you are going to protect him with your life, and he will also change thanks to you. Not only are we going to fight together, you and I are going to trust each other." Something inside him, no matter how hard he tried to deny it, resonated with Goku's conviction. Roshi, meanwhile, exhaled deeply. "A tournament between the universes? Piccolo and Kami are aliens? Time travel? Saiyajins, allies, and you, Goku? How can you remember all that? Why are you here, now?" "I don't know," said the Saiyan, lowering his tone.
I just know that I woke up here in this younger body with everything I learned, with everything we lived, as if fate had given me another chance, but I'm not going to waste it. This time, we can prepare, we can avoid deaths, we can be ready for when Frieza arrives and for everything that comes next. Well, Roshi got up slowly, leaning on his cane. In all my years of life, I never imagined hearing something like that. But if you say so, Goku, then I believe it. Let's train. There is no time to lose. Piccolo, from his corner, remained silent, although his thoughts were far from being the same as before. From the space, Vegeta and Nappa already on the way, and beyond, Frieza began to suspect. The fate of the universe had begun to turn. Thus, during the time in which the Saiyajins traveled to Earth, Goku have gone with his friends to the Kami-sama Temple, where he would go with the teleportation and with Piccolo and with Gohan to the planet of Kaiosama, where the Kaiosama, already a little aware of everything, would take care of both Gohan and Piccolo so that they have a more intense training, while he would get into the room of time, for this to increase his power as quickly as possible, and adapt his body to what was coming. This, in a year of training, had managed to make his body dominate the first and second form of the Super Saiyan, as he would also realize that it would be a little more difficult for him to access the divine key, so he would not yet focus on this. In this way, the Saiyajins had finally arrived on Earth. The ship in which Nappa and Vegeta traveled went through the atmosphere like a flaming meteor, strongly impacting an inhabited valley. Upon leaving, both warriors watched the environment with arrogance while analyzing the traces of nearby energies. Nappa crossed arms with a mocking tone said, "This is the planet they talked about so much? Barely 100 decent powers awaits. That must be Kakaroto. He barely has 5,000 power. He's an insect." Vegeta, with his classic cold but calculating attitude, would interrupt him. "Don't be an idiot, Nappa. Remember what we heard in the transmission. Those territories can hide their power, and Kakaroto is no longer the same. Keep alert." Meanwhile, on Earth, Goku had already felt the descent of his old friends, comrades and enemies. From the sky slowly descended next to Piccolo and Gohan, who had returned from the planet of King Kai just a day before, after an intense training. Both had already developed a connection that exceeded any previous expectation. The Z warriors would be in the place. Goku, with a calm smile, observed the two. "I want to see how much they have advanced," I said, with the tone of a teacher who trusts his students. "This time, I will not fight first. I want you to do it." Nappa, at that moment, looking at the two, said with a smile on his face, "Is this a joke? The brat and the green guy plan to face me?" So, Nappa would sow some Saibamans. However, Gohan would finish them all with absolute ease, and then start the real fight. "This is impossible!" Nappa would roar with fury and incredulity marked on his face. "A brat cannot have so much power." But it was too late to think. Gohan, without wasting time, would launch directly towards the corpulent Saiyan, blocking his attacks with impeccable speed. Piccolo, from a prudent distance, watched, with his arms crossed, although inside he could not help but feel proud. Goku, for his part, only watched in silence. He knew what was coming. The result was no longer a surprise. Gohan rushed back, charged a small but concentrated ki attack in his hand, and firmly he launched it against Nappa, who barely managed to cover himself before being dragged by the explosion that left him tense and sore. Wounded, with pride in pieces, Nappa turned to see Vegeta. "Vegeta, do something, help me." But Goku had already seen that before. His gaze hardened. Vegeta, without changing his expression, only slightly lowered his right arm, pointed it at his partner, and without hesitation made him fly in pieces with an accurate discharge. The silence was sepulchral for a few seconds. Only the wind could hear the dust remove from the battle. "Enough games," Vegeta said coldly, looking directly at Goku. "You are Kakaroto, right? Come on, don't make me waste my time." Goku, with a serene expression, advanced until he was in front of him. "I knew it. You were always going to end up eliminating him yourself. You haven't changed a thing." Vegeta observed him with some strangeness, barely frowning. "What are you insinuating? It's the first time we've seen each other, Kakaroto." His ki began to stabilize, increasing slightly, like a tide that prepares to hit hard. "Maybe for you, yes," I said, with a deeper tone, "but not for me." Piccolo, from afar, crossed his arms, barely murmuring to himself. Now the real fight began. The warriors would pose to see what was about to happen, the fight between Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta, infuriated by Goku's calm, would launch the first blow at a brutal speed, but Goku did not move an inch until the last moment. With a simple sidestep, he dodged the attack with a naturality that made Vegeta himself disconcerted. A series of blows would come right away. Kicks, blows, kicks, but nothing came to fruition. Goku dodged them all, without even counterattacking.
Vegeta's face, at first full of fury and confidence, began to tense with a mixture of frustration and confusion. His voice, irritated and disconcerted, rose abruptly. "What the hell are you, Kakarot? Why are you so strong? And why the hell do you say you know me?" Goku stopped at that moment to tell Vegeta the following. "Okay, Vegeta, you've seen what Gohan and Piccolo can do. Now I'll show you how far I've come." At that moment, Goku would slightly tighten his fists to at that moment see Vegeta as Goku's hair frayed to change to a completely golden color. "So it's real. You were the Super Saiyan of the legend." Goku calmly and in a firm tone would reply. "It is not a legend, Vegeta. It has not been for a long time. You can even achieve it. But this is not even my limit." Vegeta was just going to ask what he wanted to say when again Goku's body began to sparkle. Electric rays sprang from his golden aura. In a single instant, his power shot again. His hair remained golden, but his energy was even denser, sharper. The earth under his feet squatted. The sky seemed to respond to his presence. He had reached the second phase. "This is," Piccolo murmured, holding his breath. "The Super Saiyan 2? How long has that madman trained?" Vegeta was paralyzed. For the first time, he could feel not only a difference in power. No, that was an abyss. It made no sense to continue. Goku, with a more serene tone, would tell Vegeta that there was still a lot to explain, much more than he could show him with a simple fight. His power was not the only thing that had changed. It was also not the knowledge he possessed. So, extending his hand to him, he proposed to go with the Capsule Corporation. So, after a while, Vegeta was more than incredible. He could not believe anything he had heard from Goku. "I know it's a lot to assimilate, but what you saw today is just a part.
in another timeline, you changed. You fought on our side. You faced unthinkable enemies. You even fought alongside Frieza, not out of obligation, but because you were no longer the same. Vegeta said, even more than surprised. Fight alongside Frieza? I never thought that could be possible. That does not make sense. It's a real madness. And not only that, your power became monstrous, beyond the Super Saiyan, beyond even what you saw today. But you did not achieve it for revenge, nor for pride. You did it because you finally fought for something more than yourself. It was then that Goku added, Frieza should reach Earth in about a year. With the power I have right now, it is enough and sufficient to defeat him without further complications, so you do not have to rush. So, during that year, everything would happen. Goku would dedicate himself to training with Vegeta, becoming Vegeta more powerful, who would have managed to reach the phases of the Super Saiyan, as a warrior with too much power would also have become. However, things would seem to be rare for Goku when, after the year, Frieza would not arrive. This was something that surprised Goku. Goku surprised him since he thought that by that point he would arrive, but his surprise was such when it was not like that. So they went on for 1, 2, 3 years, and there was still no trace of Beerus or Frieza. What the hell was going on? Goku faced alongside the Z1 warriors more powerful androids, but they would not only defeat them, but make them join the good guys, ending with the threat of Cell from the laboratory, as there was no Trunks to change the timelines. Gohan would have become someone bigger, and Vegeta, prematurely, would have already begun his romance with Bulma, having a Trunks a year earlier, making Goten many years earlier too. They would have had a quiet few weeks when something curious would happen. From one day to another, Goku was training, when he would notice how some extremely high energies would enter the atmosphere of planet Earth. This would be followed by some ships, hundreds of them, which landed in the capital of the North. All the warriors flew there to run into something that would surprise them, be their power. It was high, very high. This has to be a joke, Goku said at that moment, which would be face to face with the evil king, who came not alone. He was accompanied by his father. He was with King Cold. Not only this, but the Special Forces Ginyu. Is that Frieza, Dad? Goku said. Yes it is, but he's not the one I know. This would surprise Vegeta. What do you mean, Kakarot? The prince was asked at that moment. Do you know what is happening? No, I do not know what is happening. Frieza would get off the ship, but for the surprise of Goku, he was not in his first form as he thought, but he would not be in his fourth form either. What is this? Frieza was in a form in which his body was totally black, at least his armor. Piccolo, with a tense voice, would observe with distrust. That is not the same Frieza you talked about, Goku. Wow, so this is planet Earth. I've heard so much about this place and about you, Goku. Although I must say that I expected more presence. The universe talks a lot about you lately. All my soldiers are scared by that Super Saiyan. Vegeta at that moment said, Is that Frieza? It does not make sense. His ki is colossal. Vegeta, my dear Vegeta. So here you came. You were hidden on this planet. Frieza analyzed the situation to at that moment look at Goku, realizing that he was just like the Saiyan to whom he faced on the planet Vegeta. So he would realize that possibly this is the legendary Saiyan of which those readings of the tracers spoke of. Goku, even in his combat position, could not hide his bewilderment. He kept his eyes fixed on that dark figure that calmly descended from the ship. There was something deeply disturbing about it. His energy was immense, but what disturbed him most was his appearance. His body armor was completely black, his presence much more imposing than any version of Frieza he had known. Goku, with a serious face, said, I don't understand. You were not the Frieza I know.
Why are you like that exactly?" The Galactic Emperor, with a mocking smile, would reply without showing the slightest interest. "Why would I care about that? I have no idea who you are, and I'm not interested in knowing you." Vegeta, who had remained silent until that moment, could not believe what he was seeing. His gaze jumped between Goku and Frieza as if trying to connect the pieces of an impossible puzzle. He frowned with force and said with a mixture of anger and bewilderment, "Kakarado, why is Frieza so powerful? What the hell is going on?" Goku would barely be able to respond with a tense tone. "I don't know, Vegeta. This is not the Frieza I faced in Namek. This is completely different."
Vegeta was not willing to continue listening. His pride as Prince Saiyan, his desire to take revenge on all the humiliations he had suffered because of Frieza, make him go directly to release a great power. This being the power of the Super Saiyan Blue, to the surprise of all those present by the great power with which Saiyan counted. Frieza, at that time, could not hide his surprise, and despite the great power he had, he could not hide his discomfort. Frieza, fearing what he always feared, the Super Saiyan, look in front of the legendary Super Saiyan. But what have him more surprised be when reading what happened through the tracers. They had told me that the Super Saiyajins, or that legendary transformation, at least had golden hair. But now that you have gone to this form, you do not have golden hair. On the contrary, you have it in a blue color. I do not understand what is happening now." The evil emperor asked what Vegeta tell him at that moment. "That is not your problem. You are not here to answer the questions. You are here to die," Vegeta said at that moment, who went all out against the tyrant at that moment. Frieza barely moved to at that moment give a powerful blow to Vegeta in his stomach, causing him to spit a thread of blood. But Vegeta managed to recover to at that moment kick Frieza in the face, which barely moved him. Frieza at that moment with a powerful blow make Vegeta fall on his knees, to at that moment give him a blow that sent him to fly to some rocks, destroying them. Vegeta lost his transformation, and Goku could only stay thinking about what had just happened. Of the reality that this came, Frieza was powerful, yes, but he could not even with a Super Saiyan Blue like Vegeta if he fought with all his strength. How was it possible that now I defeated him with a simple movement? This did not make sense at all. It was not that perhaps something strange was happening. He do not understand anything. So, without wasting his time, he go to his Super Saiyan Blue state too. Go, but so you can also use that power. What a surprise. I do not know what the hell you have done to reach that power, but you will see that you cannot with me, Saiyan said at that moment, who advanced before Frieza. Goku launched first, with a movement so fast that the air exploded after him. In an instant he appeared in front of Frieza, throwing a direct blow to the face, but the Emperor, barely turning his neck, stopped the fist with 2 fingers. Goku's eyes opened with surprise, and before he could react, Frieza turned his body and kicked him directly into the air. Without wasting time, Goku stabilized and returned, this time with a burst of attacks. Fists, kicks, synchronized movements, key explosions, fast teleportations, but Frieza responded with cold efficiency. His defense was almost perfect, although not fluid.
At times, his movements were rigid, as if he were still getting used to that new form. Goku, hating a little, move a couple of meters and watch him closely. His gaze became more analytical, and with a serious tone he said, "Now I see it. Despite how strong you are, you can hardly dominate this power, right?" Frieza, who had begun to show a slight fatigue in his breathing, tightened his teeth with annoyance. "I don't need it completely," he would answer arrogantly. "I just needed to reach it. All I needed was to have this power to come and destroy them." Goku would barely smile, with that gesture that mixes admiration and challenge, and he would answer frankly, "Even so, I have to recognize your discipline, Frieza. You barely knew about the existence of a Super Saiyan, and you went to train without rest. You knew that one day you would come, and you prepared yourself, even if your body can hardly with what you achieved," said at that moment the Saiyan to Frieza. Frieza would be upset. He knew that Goku's words were true, but he did not want to accept them. So, at that moment, the tyrant would tell him, "Shut up, insect." And yet, Goku said in a low voice, closing his eyes, "In this way, I am not a rival to you." The wind stopped. The others could feel it. Something inside Goku was changing. His breathing calmed, his muscles relaxed, his energy was no longer strong but serene. A silver light began to emanate from his body, and his hair returned to its original shape, but his ki was rising with overwhelming elegance. Frieza stepped back unintentionally, noticing that subtle but brutal change. Goku opened his eyes, now shining in an intense silver tone. Now his expression was totally neutral. "I have to hurry up and finish you before this gets worse." Frieza, at that moment, would launch himself against Goku, who would only dodge his attacks, or so he thought, when a powerful blow of Frieza hit his face, causing the Saiyan to shoot some mountains. "It cannot be possible. How can you make fun of the Ultra Instinct?" Frieza, at that moment, appeared in front of him to kick him to the ground, causing a giant crater. However, it was at that moment when Goku, more than annoyed, would release a huge power, passing to his dominated form of the Ultra Instinct, with which he began to attack. When Frieza tried to attack him, his blows passed through where Goku was no longer. A series of fists were stamped on Frieza's torso, one in the stomach, another in the chin, and a kick lifted him in the air. Goku appeared behind him as if the space itself bent before his will, and with a descending blow he crashed him against the ground, lifting a column of dirt and dust. Frieza incorporated with difficulty, breathing agitatedly, with a bloody face and tense muscles. His ki was still greater, but Goku surpassed him in control, in speed, in total control of the body. "You surprise me, Frieza. You surprise me too much. But from the reality that I come, you fight with me, with Vegeta, with many of us who are here present to protect the universe, and although your power has grown much more than I imagined, I have been years, more years than you think, since I returned to the past, training these forms, and I have discovered that the power of the angels can be combined with the Super Saiyan." Frieza, between annoyed and incredulous, said, with a short but tense laugh, "Angels? Reality? I do not understand. What the hell are you talking about, insect?" Goku then closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, and with a firmer tone he would reply, "Maybe later, I need you. There is no doubt that your power is more than great, Frieza, but right now I have to finish you." The earth would tremble under the feet of the present, the sky would darken for a moment, and then Goku's ki would explode in a way that I had never shown until that moment. It was something beyond the Ultra Instinct, beyond the Super Saiyan, a manifestation of balance between the Saiyan fury and the celestial calm, a fusion of what he had learned from the gods and his own race. Frieza and his father barely had time to react. Goku, in a single fast movement like thought, disappeared from everyone's sight.
In the next blink, a spear of colossal energy formed on his palms, spinning with a fervor capable of erasing mountains. With a low but determined voice, Goku said, "Goodbye, Frieza. I will not let you destroy this world." And so, in a flash of blinding light, the attack was launched. The roar of the impact was heard all over the earth. The sky opened in a luminous crack, and as the glow dissipated, there was no trace of Frieza, King Cold, or the ship that brought them. Only the echo of Goku's power, reverberating between the skies, who after using all that gigantic power, returned to his base form. Everyone at that moment, still overwhelmed by what happened, began to slowly approach Goku, who descended with serenity while his aura faded. Vegeta, with a serious face and an ugly body, walked with difficulty, but his eyes were full of respect. Piccolo, in silence, watched carefully, while Gohan ran directly towards his father, with relief and admiration. Krillin and Master Roshi were also approaching, shocked by the level of power that Goku had unleashed. Goku, already in his base form, with a tired but warm smile, said while looking at his friends, "I did not think that Frieza, hearing about the Super Saiyan, be so obsessed with training. There is no doubt that his ambition took him very far, more than I imagined." His words were mixed with the sound of the wind, which blew gently over the remains of the battlefield. Everyone listened to him in silence, realizing that the enemy they had just faced was not the same Frieza that Goku had told them about. The Saiyan continued, now with a firmer and more determined voice. "But there is no need to fear, neither him nor those who come after, because from now on, the threats that reach the universe will not be rivals for us." Vegeta, crossed arms, ascend in silence. Piccolo close his eyes with seriousness, and Gohan, with his fist closed, be filled with determination. Krillin smile with relief, while Master Roshi murmured that at last, perhaps, they could breathe in peace for a while. And so, while the sky began to clear and the earth was once again recovering from an avoided disaster, the history of this world, altered by a Goku who had returned from the future with all his memories and powers, came to an end, but this time without a tragic ending.
The Dragon Ball universe has been moving again in a way that feels alive and full of possibility. After years of anticipation, months of silence, and decades of devotion from fans around the world, the franchise that introduced us to Goku, Vegeta, and so many unforgettable warriors is finally stepping back into the spotlight with a new rhythm and new announcements that remind us why we fell in love with it in the first place. At the heart of all the excitement is the official confirmation that Dragon Ball Super will be returning to the screen in a brand new form this fall.
The project, titled Dragon Ball Super Beerus, was unveiled as an enhanced edition of the original anime, designed to retell the first major arc with modern animation, revised storytelling, and more immersive battles. This isn't just a remaster. It is an ambitious recreation of the moment the series first expanded beyond Earth and into the realm of gods and cosmic forces. This beginning point, the confrontation with Beerus, the god of destruction, rewrites familiar events with updated visuals and storytelling energy, aiming to meet the expectations of both longtime fans and a new generation of viewers. What's particularly exciting about Dragon Ball Super Beerus is the level of commitment behind it. The team has stressed that this edition is fully re-rendered, with many scenes rebuilt from scratch, new cuts added, and even newly recorded dialogue and sound effects to deepen the emotional and dramatic impact. In other words, it feels like a fresh way to experience a story many of us already know, but on a scale that reflects the technological and artistic advances in animation since the original series first aired. Alongside this enhanced edition, the franchise is preparing to reveal even more about the future of the series in April 2026 at a major fan event. A special panel dedicated to Dragon Ball Super Beerus has been confirmed for the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2026, scheduled for April 19th. Fans attending the event or following along online can expect updated visuals, announcements, and potentially deeper insights into how this remake will unfold and set the tone for future content. But the story doesn't stop at revisiting the past. Another important piece of news concerns the continuation of the anime itself with brand new arcs. At the same festival where the enhanced edition was announced, the production of Dragon Ball Super: The Galactic Patrol was also confirmed. This upcoming series will adapt the Galactic Patrol arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga, a storyline that follows Goku and his allies as they confront threats that lurk beyond the Tournament of Power and test their strength in ways that go far beyond anything seen before. While exact release dates haven't been revealed yet, the commitment to adapt this arc shows that the franchise is ready to push forward rather than simply restating old stories. The momentum behind Dragon Ball in 2026 isn't limited to just anime either. Bandai Namco has announced a new game project called Dragon Ball Age 1000, set for release in 2027. This title promises to expand the universe even further, introducing original characters and a timeline that takes place centuries after the events most fans are familiar with. What makes this announcement especially meaningful is that Akira Toriyama himself contributed to the design of some of the characters and world elements before his passing, adding a layer of creative continuity that fans deeply appreciate. News about Age 1000 is expected to grow as we approach the Battle Hour event in April, when more details on gameplay, story, and characters will likely be shared. As all of these developments unfold, there are also moments of reflection within the community. A recent interview with veteran voice actor Christopher Sabat, the English voice of Vegeta, has sparked emotional conversations among fans. In the interview, Sabat spoke honestly about the physical demands of voicing Vegeta and how he is considering whether he will continue in the role for future installments. After more than 25 years bringing one of the most iconic characters in anime to life, his comments have reminded the world that the people behind these voices are human, with their own journeys and challenges. Whether he returns or steps back someday, his legacy in the role is something many fans see as inseparable from Vegeta's identity. In other corners of the Dragon Ball world, the franchise's influence continues to grow beyond screens and games. Plans are underway for the first Dragon Ball theme park in Latin America, set to debut in southern Peru. Called Z Park, This expansive attraction will feature life-size sculptures of beloved characters like Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo, inviting fans of all ages to explore the world of Dragon Ball in a physical and interactive space. This project signals a growing recognition of how deeply Dragon Ball's legacy resonates around the world, not just through anime and manga, but as a cultural experience that brings people together. Taken as a whole, these pieces of news remind us that Dragon Ball is in a rare moment of transformation. The franchise is honoring its rich history while also embracing ambitious future directions. The enhanced anime remake promises new life for classic stories. Upcoming arcs hold the promise of unexplored battles and deeper character growth, and game projects and themed experiences are expanding the world in ways that weren't imaginable even a few years ago. All of this is unfolding against the backdrop of the franchise's 40th anniversary, a milestone that highlights how enduring and beloved this universe has become. For fans who have waded through decades of arcs, movies, hiatuses, and endless speculation, this period marks a turning point. Dragon Ball is no longer just a memory, a classic of its era, or a story told in fragments. It is moving forward with intention, creativity, and a sense of renewed purpose that feels both respectful of its past and boldly open to whatever comes next.